Let it be recorded, Johnson, Worry, Burnett, Nicholson are present. Approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Johnson, second by Burnett. Under discussion, here none, all in favor.
Aye.
Ayes, motion carried. Approval of the minutes
So moved.
by Johnson, second by Burnett. Under discussion, here none, all in favor.
Aye.
Ayes, motion carried. Regular order of business. 1, consideration of possible action on request by Alderman Nicholson for a review of the Department of Public Works completion date expectations for possible action. Notification of Brown County Home Builders Association about the meeting. As Department of Public Works staff will be meeting with Brown County Home Builders Association December 12th, held December 10th. Prudent Services, Director Grenier.
We did have a meeting with the Brown County Home Builders Association on December 12th. Ourselves, Mayor's Office, and Community and Economic Services. Purpose of the meeting, as you may remember, essentially after October 1st of the year, for houses which are getting occupancy permits granted after October 1st, we need to be able to ensure that site stabilization for erosion control purposes is taken care of, that driveways are properly constructed and any necessary sidewalks are in the correct place and at the correct grade. That work generally can't happen after October 1st because most of those types of service activities are no longer completing, and we need to have a way to ensure that the work is properly completed in the spring of the following year. So what we were utilizing was provisions that were in the erosion control ordinance where we could require the contractor or the builder to submit a cash bond. The builders don't want to have that kind of a capital outlay, but we need to be able to protect, make sure that the information is properly passed on to anybody who's buying that property, and that again, that the work can be completed within a reasonable time frame in the spring. So we met with the Home Builders Association, worked out, came through, had some discussion on some various options, and right now Director Vonk and I are working up those options so we can present them back to the Home Builders Association. What it's pretty much going to look like in its final format is a notation that will be recorded within the tracking software upstairs, and we're trying to see if there's a way to get it to tie to the software that's in the clerk's office. With most home transactions, when the lending institution who's covering the mortgage, they will request from the clerk's office what's referred to as a letter of specials. And what they're looking for is any liens, encumbrances, or special assessments which are listed with the clerk's office as being due, to see if we can put those conditions into the clerk's software so it will show on a letter of specials. That will cover about 95% of all transactions, but there still are 5% of transactions which are done without a lending institution, even on new construction. So we're just looking for ways to make sure that's being addressed as well. And then Matt and I are going to be talking about the site stabilization. The Home Builders has offered up a draft of a form that would be executed jointly by the builder and the purchaser, transferring the responsibility for the site stabilization from the builder to the purchaser. I think it may get used, I think it may wind up, I think there's too much emphasis being placed on this. The Home Builders Association was confused. They thought we were requiring lawns to go in. And what we told them is no, $20 worth of temporary seed so that it greens up and holds the dirt in place until you put a lawn in. That's all we're looking for out here. So that changed things, but we do have the information from the Home Builders Association. So this is something that, again, it's a cooperative effort between ourselves, Sixth Floor, and the home builders to get this resolved, to make sure that we don't want builders outlaying huge capital sums and tying up. All we want to do is make sure that the construction gets done correctly.
Any questions from the committee? If not, we're just going to hold it until you bring back those other options? Is that what it is, Steve?
We could hold it until such time that we have something to report, if that would work for you guys. Rather than put it on the next agenda, just keep holding it.
Right.
Once Director Vonk and I have something to report back to you, we can just simply put a roster back on the agenda automatically.
Be about what, month?
I'm guessing, yeah, probably, it'd probably actually be in March.
Okay.
2 months?
So I'd move to receive the existing item and place on file with the understanding that when the new one comes up, that
That
will
we
show up
simply
on the
put
next
a new item.
agenda.
That would be fine too.
Second.
Okay, do you have that motion, Steve?
Yep.
Motion by Johnson, second by Burnett, under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Thank you. Okay, consideration of possible action, request of Alderman Nicholson on behalf of Tina Bunker to have City of Green Bay own and maintain. I don't see Bunker here, can we just hold until next meeting?
Motion to hold.
Motion to hold by Worry, second by Burnett, under discussion. Hear none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. 6, consideration of possible action on request by Alderman Nicholson to review placement of snow fence near Eisenhower Park. Okay, gentlemen, the reason why I brought this forward, had I guess I called Chris Purlott in the late summer, early fall to get the snow fence up by Eisenhower Park. I was instructed by Chris Purlott as an affirmative, and it wasn't. And had the neighbors give me a call asking why, so I called Mr. Purlott again, and he said, we don't do that anymore. So this is where we're at. So I brought it to a committee, but is anybody here for that? I did request some input from the neighbors. Apparently they can't make it, or they didn't make it, but the reasons, I guess they were telling me, past history, they've had a snow fence there numerous times, and actually, I guess it helps with blocking the snow during the winter. So I guess this is where we're at. Director Kinnear, do you want to give some input?
Yeah, I can give you a little bit of input.
Thank you.
In the packet, we didn't have the drawing that I just handed out ready when things went to publish on Friday. But in the packet, we did have sort of a primer on how snow fence works and where it's used. Basically, in order for snow fence to be effective, it should be installed between what you're trying to protect and the wind. So predominantly in the winter, we have winds that come out of the west and northwest. If you take the drawing that I handed you and put it in the landscape mode, you'll have north at the top of the page. The folks on the south side of Lilac Lane, from what I understand, are the ones who are asking for the snow fence.
Correct.
And in order to protect them, you'd have to construct a fence across the park, which is almost 90 degrees off from the prevailing wind. So what Mr. Purlott indicated to me was when the snow fence was installed previously, it was not very effective because the wind blew along the fence instead of across it, so it really wasn't blocking a whole lot. It wasn't doing its job. We weren't really seeing the effect, although the property owners on the south side of Lilac Lane may have had some sort of, they may have felt that it was doing something, but it really wasn't functioning the way that it was intended to, and apparently that's why that was one of the reasons that it was stopped. The other, this would be an installation in a park, and it would more likely be handled by Parks Department as opposed to DPW. But again, the primary reason, it simply wasn't as effective as the folks on Lilac thought it was.
Any questions or comments from the committee?
Sure, how many years was it in place?
Offhand, I don't know, and Mr. Purlott unfortunately had another commitment tonight, so he was not able to attend the meeting.
I was told the neighbors it's been over 10 years.
So last year was...
I know my first year, 02, it was there.
Yeah, I thought he
So
said
we're looking
that
at 16 plus.
it's been a year or two that we have not installed it.
That is correct. Well, the input I have with the neighbors is that, Steve, it contradicts what you're saying. They live there, they say it does work. Helps with the snow and the inconvenience of people coming to their doors, knocking on the doors in the middle of the night, asking for help to dig themselves out when cars get stuck right in that area. That's what they're telling me.
Okay.
They live there, And I don't know why they wouldn't, I'm guessing, I'm hoping they're telling the truth. But he said when the fence is up, they don't have any issues with large amounts of snow blocking the driveways. Like I said, this was there before I was. In '02, I remember it was up. After that, we always had it up, except for the last couple of years, I've always requested it. I always assumed that the city did put it up because I was told they were gonna put it up, and apparently they didn't. And this is the first time that I remember is that the city doesn't do that anymore. But Steve, what is there a heavy cost to put a snow fence up?
But just labor and if there's any replacement materials.
Right. We have the fence. It's not like we gotta construct the fence. We got labor. We have labor basically every day of the week. So I'd like to see the committee to follow through and have the snow fence put up, please.
I'll make a motion to have the snow fence put up again. As it was
Motion.
for 16, 20 years, whatever it was previous.
Motion by Worry to,
I'll second the question though.
hang on, what's the motion?
To reinstall the snow
To
fence. as it was.
reinstall the fence back in Eisenhower Park. There's a second by Burnett. Burnett, you have the floor.
Parks Department would be doing the labor? Is that-
We will discuss with
Coordinate
Parks.
Okay.
I always called DPW, Steve. That's why I called,
No,
Mr.
I understand,
Pure
I understand.
Lot. Before Pure Lot, who was it Wiesner? Can't remember who was before Pure Lot.
Oh, God, no, before Chris being operations director, probably would have been
Frank, and then Dave.
Dave Damrow.
Hey, maybe it was Chris Pure Lot I've always dealt with then.
Chris has only been there
12, 13.
Oh, okay. So you said Frank Demerol?
Frank Dadham.
He was.
Dadham, okay. That's
Dave
what I dealt
Damrow
with.
was this.
One of the two. I can't remember. It's been a while. But motion on the floor. You have the floor, Mr. Burnett.
No other questions, I approve.
Any other questions from the committee? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Number, got a question then, when would that, if it gets through council, Steve, when would this fence be put up? Would you say?
Starting the following week,
Okay.
as early as Wednesday the following week. Again, I'll sit down and work with Dan and
Thank you.
figure out how to take care of it.
Thank you. Number 4, consideration of possible action on a request by Alderman Stoyer to study and report out on the feasibility of utilizing even odd residential addresses overnight parking scenario as is done in Milwaukee in order to relieve the parking problems at residences with limited parking spaces with the Department of Public Works creating. Holy mackerel.
I don't know. for
Draft
all that,
ordinances that allow even odd overnight on parking during the
That might have been
months.
added. I don't think.
And year-round, and present at the January 8th, 2020 Improvement Services Committee meeting held on December 10th, 2019. Alderman Stoyer or Director Grenier, who wants to go first?
Well, first of all, Steve, I was a little bit surprised that it might be on the agenda today. I thought that you folks were going to come forward with a draft ordinance.
Well, as luck would have it, Alderman, we did prepare some draft ordinance language, and that's why I'm a little confused that I don't see it within the packet.
And I haven't seen anything either, so.
So I would have no issue with holding till the next meeting, and we will get that ordinance language out to all the alders, say, because it was omitted from the.
Yeah.
And then,
No rush, really.
especially seeing as with the meeting schedule, we only have we're not, well, no, we're actually gonna be meeting 29th. So I'll give you guys a couple of weeks to at least review the ordinance language rather than getting it dropped on you here at committee.
Thank you.
Motion to hold till our next meeting.
Motion by Worried to hold our next meeting, second by Burnett under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, nays, motion carries.
Patience.
Okay.
My apologies on that, I thought it was in the packet.
Okay. Consideration of possible action on request by Alderman Worry to appeal by Bob Corey, 302 Oak Street, to the reinspection fees on his property. Who wants to go first?
I don't know if staff wants to lay the,
Well, this is actually not something that's under our jurisdiction. Reinspection fees are handled through Community and Economic Services, which normally would have been probably policy and protection, but if,
because inspectors fall under you, right?
nope, there are six
No.
more.
Protection policy usually takes inspection fees up.
They would have all the inspection fees?
Yeah. But if you want to, I suppose this is one way to get it on,
Not true.
you know,
Well, perhaps you could hear and maybe send a recommendation, or?
if you want to at least get the conversation,
Sure.
you know,
May as
commemorated.
well, we're all here.
Yeah, then we'll recommend it
Yeah.
to forward it on.
Yeah. I'll make a motion to open the floor for just a
Second.
second.
Motion to open the floor for interested parties by Worry, second by Johnson, under discussion. Hear none, all in favor?
Aye.
Ayes, motion carried. Please raise your hand. I will recognize you, just state your name and address for the record.
Bob Corey, 3636 Shawano Avenue, Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Okay.
I own a house at 1835 Shawano Avenue, and 4.5 years ago, I got a letter from the city saying you cannot park on the grass, which I know, the tenant doing that. I went and talked to him, he said, I'm gonna put some more gravel down because it's pretty bare here. He put the gravel down, I get another letter saying compliance, no problem. Advance 4 years to the spring, and was adding some more gravel to what he had there. But he went over the initial driveway. So I didn't know what was going on, so I called up Eric and I said, what's going on? He says, well, the driveway was too wide. I said, well, it was approved 4 years ago. He said, well, you made it too wide. I said, okay, fine. What do you do about it? They approved it, now they don't approve it. So I says, it's pretty wet right now. He says, don't worry about it. Dries up. Well, we had a pretty wet spring, pretty wet summer. And besides that, between my house to the north of me, there's a ditch about 1.5 feet deep. There's a culvert under my sidewalk for the water to drain. So when anybody else's driveway or sidewalks grass dries out, mine doesn't. It's a few more days longer. And every time it rains, we get a problem. So it took a little longer. And I was conversed with Mr. Weary and Eric downtown. The first 2 phone calls, we conversed, and then I got a letter for an inspection fee. I says, hey, it's still wet out there. No phone call back. I called them, left messages, no return call back. So next day I got another letter in the mail. I called Eric up again. He can't get a hold of him. And right in his letter it says, communication, follow up, give us a call, and nothing. So I got that done by July. I got 4 letters of reinspection fees for a frickin' lawn. It wasn't a sidewalk somebody could trip on, it wasn't electrical where somebody could get hurt, it wasn't shingles flying off the roof, it's a lawn. If you'd have called me back and said it has to be done by a certain date, it was wet out there, all spring, all summer. Like I said, in the back of my property, there's a ditch on the side of my property, there's water there now. That won't recede. I got done by July. All I'm asking for is some reduction, and if not, so be it.
Mr. Curry, what was the total, 200?
$200.
I
I mean, they just drove by, I kept going.
And I can confirm that Mr. Curry called me frequently, right, several times, and actually sent me pictures of what he had been doing all along, all summer, and now due to our new policy or whatever it is, whenever I would email inspections, they would send me back the polite email, well, tell them to deal with us directly. So,
No phone calls back.
remember we had that presentation, how we're not
Oh,
supposed to
yeah.
get involved with inspection issues anymore. Well, that's kind of our job. So I would try and, call inspection and say, hey, call him back. He's got horribly wet lawn, he can't
And-
get grass to grow.
And on
He's
top of
trying, you know, are we gonna be punishing him for trying to get it done? So I thought it was worthwhile coming here. As it turns out, it might have to go to another committee, but
Well, and on top of that, I never got a compliance letter. All I got was inspection letters.
Okay. I believe you.
No,
Now, who's the inspector?
Eric Crumley.
He's not.
and at
No,
some
is
point.
he here anymore?
At some point,
No.
he wasn't
Anybody
remember when
replace
that
him?
deed is, but, yeah. Any others?
You don't think so? Go ahead,
I
Burnett.
think, well, one thing we were told is that the reinspection fees are being used as a way to encourage people to attend to issues, which is what you did. So I'm very uncomfortable for having the city, from what you say, Alder Weary, what you say, sir, that we're assessing $200 towards a property owner who is making a good faith effort to fix the issue.
Especially before, if you were fined, you could at least go to court and plead your case. When you
Yeah,
when you do
that's
the
not
inspection
right.
fees, you can't go to court, so it leaves you coming to council.
Another thing, gentlemen, is every letter I got, they all look the same. Doesn't say second offense, third offense, fourth offense. It's just inspection fee. I mean, there should be something on there to let the public know, the person know, that I was there once, I was there twice. Let's communicate. That's when the letter says to call to try and resolve this, and let's get together. So,
And I certainly don't want to minimize what happened to you, but I'm trying to condense it down into a very short
well,
version.
that's fine,
Okay?
fine.
So I just want to make sure I have it accurate. It was a gravelled parking area
The
existing?
driveway, yes.
Okay. You tried to contact inspection multiple times, but were unable to get in contact with your inspector?
After the first two times, we talked about what to be done, because they approved it already, 4
Right.
years ago, and now they're not approving it. So after the first two phone calls, I told him, Woody went out there, I'll get to it as soon as it dries up. And he said, fine. And then I got a letter of non-compliance. Then I called Chris. He tried to call him. He didn't get any answer.
Okay, so after the first two phone calls, that's when you were no longer able to get in touch with the inspector.
Right,
You were finally compliant in July,
yeah.
and you're looking for the reinspection fees to be waived.
Well, I understand they had to re-inspect it again, but on top, I guess, on my defense, is they approved it 4 years ago. Said it was okay, and now they're saying it's not okay. So if 4 years ago, if they had said, hey, you can't have that gravel that far over, take it back, we would take it care of 4 years ago, and we wouldn't have this problem today. But he said that last inspector, who was still there, I think, made a mistake. No problem, but give me a break too.
And what I'm trying to do is, I want to get a short version, so I can get this up to the inspection department, so when you go to the next committee meeting, they at least they'll be able to do some legwork before the meeting.
All right.
Try to make things more efficient for you.
All right.
Johnson.
Director Grenier, is there, and I don't know if you'd have the answer to this on the spot, but is there any type of city policy that requires that this has to go through protection and policy? And the reason I'm asking is if the purpose of committees is just to do committee work and council has the ultimate authorization, is there a reason that this committee can't make a recommendation that council could then act on at its next meeting?
Well-
So that way we can expedite this process and not ask the resident to have to come back in two more times.
The only reason is that we don't have anybody from inspection here who could answer on the city side of things.
Okay. They can do that at council.
Could.
Yeah. And again, I understand, again, purpose of committee is to expedite things, but I'm trying to expedite for
No, I
our
understand.
citizens as
And
well.
the only other thing is that when we do look under ordinance about the composition and duties of standing committee, this doesn't fall under INS's area of responsibility. But that's an issue for you guys to work out with the other 8.
Because I think what I'm inclined to do is have the committee make a recommendation to the full council, and if legal looks at that between now and the council meeting and says, no, we can't do that, fine, then that gives Alder Weary an opportunity to reach out and provide an update, but I'm just trying to make this an efficient process.
Understood.
Yeah.
I do have one other thing, if you could listen to me. Some years ago, they put a roundabout in on Shawano Avenue. Shawano and Taylor,
Gotcha.
okay? I have a house that I own on 1835 Shawano Avenue. And this past summer and fall, I had to help 3 times somebody in a wheelchair get across the street. They told me that they have no intersection to get across the street anymore. They have to go all the way down. They're afraid to go to the roundabout because they don't want to get hit. They have to go all the way down to St. Mary's Hospital, hit a corner to get across the street. And with that new hospital coming in across the street from me, it's going to get worse. These guys go to Quick Trip or they go to wherever, and they come down in front of my house, and they want to get across to go down Fellows or get across the street, and they can't. There's going to be an accident there, and they're going to be a sad day.
Alder Steuer, is that your district?
It's right on the border.
Perhaps you could take a look at that.
I
And bring it
definitely
back as
look
an
at
item
that.
if it needs to be.
I think one of the issues there is, well, many times people, they're supposed to slow down in a roundabout. I see a lot of people speeding up in that one. And there's a lot of, it's a very busy intersection, very busy, so.
Yeah, so-
I'll get your number and we can talk.
Because there's no corners from,
No.
used to be a corner there to get, with lights to get across, now they can go all the way down to St. Mary's Hospital. And for a wheelchair.
You're supposed to allow the pedestrians to cross, and I have stopped, but it's like one of those things that the cars are moving quickly, you know, it's, you have to really watch your back end to make sure you're not gonna get rear-ended as you allow someone to cross.
Alderman Story, you know what I would suggest, maybe you and Mr. Corey can talk about it after. 'Cause
That's fine.
We're
I
kind of
understand.
veering off the
Motion
subject. So,
goes for it.
Mr. Corey, you got anything on, to add to these reinspection fees?
No, I said my piece.
Okay. Motion to close the floor by
Second.
Burnett, second by Johnson. Under discussion here, none, all in favor. Names
Aye.
motion carried. Okay, regular order of business. Wishes of the committee.
I think we're going through a kind of a learning process with how inspections handles things now. And I think this one kind of fell in between partly with an inspector who left at some point, I don't know when. And just that reinspection over reinspection when he was clearly making an effort. He was calling me and sending me pictures of what he was doing. So I don't know, maybe the committee has an idea of what's appropriate.
Send the council, see what happens. If not, they'll send it back.
I'd move that we rescind the reinspection fees, subject to legal review prior to the next council meeting.
Motion by Johnson, second by Burnett. Under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor. Nays motion carried. I suggest you be at the meeting,
Tuesday's next council meeting.
6
Next
o'clock.
Tuesday,
Yeah, 207,
207?
correct.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Moving forward. Consideration of possible action and request by Alderman Worry to appeal by Mike and Karen Elberts, 1801 South Ridge, to the designation and approved use of their parcels 1-1423-A-1 and 1-1423A-9 on Ridge Road. Worry?
Thank you,
Alderman Worry?
Mr. Chairman. And here's another one where it seems like the way we handled things for the past 40 years now all of a sudden changed this year. This parcel is on the corner of Frank and Ridge. It's an open parcel. It's been used the way it has
Yeah.
for as long as I can remember. And now
Yep.
this year
85
it's
years.
changed. So I'd make a motion to open the floor.
Motion to open up floor for interested parties by Worry, second by Johnson. Under discussion, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. The floor is now open. Just raise your hand. I'll recognize you. Just state your name and address for the record, please.
Karen Alberts, 3525 Tanglewood Lane, Swamico.
And Michael Alberts, 3525 Tanglewood Lane, Swamico, Wisconsin.
Perfect. Got the floor.
Okay, we basically received a letter telling us that we have to get rid of the driveway that's there. We use that parcel of property not only for parking cars on game day, but Mike does do work in the shop. We go over to the house quite frequently. There are times that we spend the night at that house versus at our other house. So we do use both parcels of property. So basically, what happened is we got two tickets because we parked our two vehicles on the driveway. And it
That was
it's a-
before we got the letter.
Yeah, and that was a gravel driveway. And then we got the letter saying, you can't have that driveway there. And we had discussed this back in 2014, and it was grandfathered in at that time. At that time, I know Chris was there, I know we talked about this, how
He was
we
there too.
remembered it. I got the notes from the meeting, and I think, Mr. Green here, I think you were checking with somebody, and if there was gonna be a problem with it at that time, they were gonna contact us. We received no information whatsoever after that.
Yeah, this was up in inspection.
Mhm.
We know,
Back then,
what
Yeah.
I don't understand is
Well,
you
just
call
one
it and
second, like-
abandon it.
That's what
I
they're calling
have-
it.
Steve, Steve, can you rebuttal or explain what, they asked you a question, can you?
I'm trying to remember, I remember the parcel. I know we were at, one time we were talking about turning it into a circular drive so it connected to the
Right.
driveway on the house.
Right. And I
Parcel.
thought that I had to just have the property. It's always been a Ridge Road property, that lot that's left.
Right.
Because we owned half the block at one time. And so that was the last parcel, because I built my own house at 1294 Thorndale. And so anyway, that apron would have been perfect for a duplex, because where the pole was, we'd have an apron on each side. When my father died in 92, I came down to the inspection department. I wanted to get a permit to build a duplex, and they told me no, because there's too many duplexes on St. Agnes Drive, from Lindahl Funeral Home all the way back down to Brickley or whatever it is. So, but anyway, this abandonment, I don't understand the terminology when I have 2 of my 7 vehicles on that driveway all the time.
Mr. Elders,
And again, it's.
our director will address that, please.
Well, it's difficult for me to address because I don't do the zoning enforcement.
Uh-huh.
Again, that's Community and Economic Services on 6th floor. I guess the short answer, the layman's way of looking at it that I rely on, I believe the zoning ordinance states that a driveway has to go directly to a garage.
Boy.
And if there's not,
Yes, we should send this to,
well, it's gonna have to go
Wherever.
to,
so they can.
we're
explain
gonna
it.
wind up referring it to Community and Economic Services. I don't know what committee it's gonna go to, but
That's, yeah. it
that's,
doesn't really
where- yeah,
fall.
I know, I understand.
So I brought it here.
But
Yeah.
there's another thing too. The house that's there used to be between the gravel and cement driveway.
Okay,
And it had a stone foundation, so in 77, we moved it over.
yep,
And the house was like, if you would put the lot line straight through from my 2 duplexes on Frank Street, and then there's a house, a split level, that the people don't live there anymore, but Hawkins bought it from us, and then mine, and then the empty lot. And no matter how you look at it, nothing has changed. That driveway's been there for over 80 years. I use it, like I say, my 2 trucks used to always be on it, now my cars. And to tell me that I have to take it out and get rid of it is quite a hardship.
well, and
I can't afford to build more garages, I already have 5.
I understand. What I'm trying to explain to you is the way that the ordinance is written. And we've had this situation with other properties where, somebody would come in and buy an older property and demo the house.
Oh yeah, they did a lot of them on
And
Shine
then,
Lane.
add it on, so you got a double lot.
Uh-huh.
Okay, things like that. And when that happens, the way the ordinance is written and the way the inspection department enforces it, then you have to remove the apron and you have to pull the curb, you have to cut the curb
Take
cut
the apron out and put a new curb.
Put a full head curb in there.
Okay.
So that's the way the ordinance is written.
Okay.
I
So I'm at a
understand
loss.
exactly what you're saying.
Because right across the road where Venisi had his buildings on the corner, Keene bought all that land and like 6 houses and a duplex that Venisi had on the corner of Frank and Shadow Lane. They still have 2 aprons there and the driveway that was between the 2 buildings. Over on Brickley, there's property with a gravel driveway on it. They don't have an apron cut. But there are some down on Ridge Road closer to West Mason Street. And my two neighbors have driveways going from Frank Street up to Ridge Road. And I've asked them, and they aren't hearing anything.
And again, I can't,
I understand.
about all I can do
I know.
is guess that somebody complained. And it
Chris,
turned in a complaint.
And that I did.
So, but I was
as well.
granted to keep it in 2014. The little Asian guy, I'm sorry, I can't remember his name. And he was the one that said,
Jamie.
I certainly don't want you to lose your driveway, and we thought that was the end of it. He does weddings, and that's how I know him.
Oh,
He
you're
does
talking
not-
about someone else.
Or Danziger.
Danziger?
Yeah.
Oh, Danziger.
The
Oh,
giant
weddings,
inspector that you
Okay.
does
Yeah,
that.
and, well, he did two of my niece's
Alderman
weddings,
Dwayne?
and that's how I remember him so good.
Yeah, I had the same thing last year, even though I wasn't the alderman anymore, but the other one didn't answer him back, so I
Or
went down
Tom
there.
Dwayne, sorry.
And going east on Finger Road, second house from the last right before the highway, that gentleman has the same thing. He has his house, garage and all that, but they own the property next door. And it's just no grass. There used to be a driveway all there. And he always parks his vehicle there. So I went and checked it out, and when they told him, he said, you're not maintaining it, there's grass growing through, and he goes, well, I've been parking here for years, and they told him, if you park here, you have to clean this up, put the stone in there properly before you can park there again. So they didn't tell him he couldn't, but they said you have to maintain it. You can't have grass growing out of it. This is you're not taking care of it, so you can't legally park there. So he had to redo it, put more stone down, and hasn't had a problem since, but it's countered
Right.
what they're saying. So, I mean, I just ran into it this last summer.
Any questions for the Alberts? If not, I'll close the floor, and then we'll make a recommendation.
Second.
Motion by Weary to close the floor, bring it back to regular order of business, second by Burnett, under discussion, hearing none, all in favor.
Aye.
Nays, motion carried, we're in regular order of business. Alderman Weary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And this could be another one that we send to council, and then if we find out that it needs to go somewhere else, that's fine, but as even Director Grenier said, it doesn't really have an exact home. So I'd make a motion to allow the existing use of the property, including the existing driveway and apron.
That would be nice.
Do you have-
See, when we had this last meeting, I went.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor,
I'm sorry.
I'll second.
there's a second by Burnett, under discussion, hearing none, all in favor.
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Mr. Alberts, you can talk to Mr. Weary
Yeah, we
after
can
the
chat.
meeting.
Okay.
Or right now. if you
Thank
want.
you.
There
Yep,
we go, though.
thank
We
you.
can say we have hours of fun ahead.
Oh, you do?
All right,
Hopefully not.
where are we?
Don't tempt me, I just might.
Yep. Consideration of possible action on Department of Public Works to award a professional engineering service contract to McMahon Associates for hydraulic. Okay, I think I got the first one.
Hydrologic and hydraulic.
Good enough. Analysis on, can't read that. Storm Basin 313. Thanks, Steve. Director Grenier?
We have been completing H&H studies on a variety of our stormwater basins for the purpose of designing systems to alleviate flooding around the city in areas where we have high water. So Utility Manager Matt Hacknell is here to answer any questions you may have. What we have is Storm Basin 313, and there is a memo in your packet that addresses this, showing the size of the storm basin. It's about 800 acres. General boundaries are the Fox River on the east, South Fisk Street on the west, and from north to south, it's bounded between Lombardi Avenue on the south and 8th or 9th Street generally on the north. So it's a pretty sizable area. And this all flows down, comes out by,
Ultimately 9th Street,
okay, that comes out by GP, right?
north of.
Just north of. So what we're recommending is that McMahon Associates be retained to do the H&H study for purpose of designing something. McMahon has helped us with the H&H studies for a variety of basins, has expertise in this area. Anticipated cost is about $36,400. This will be funded out of the stormwater utility.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Johnson, second by Weary, under discussion. Steve, real quick question, is this gonna relieve what?
There's flooding
Or map.
throughout the area. The latest was a commercial industrial customer off of South Broadway, just north of the railroad tracks, south of 10th. And over the past month, we've actually had 2 complaints over off of Norwood, South Norwood, by residential property owners, happen to be neighbors. And there's probably about 3 dozen other locations within this basin that we have a past history of flooding. So it will identify where or if we have flooding, and then possible solutions on how to rectify those, either by upsizing storm sewers or other stormwater facilities.
Kind of equivalent to Maine and Mason.
On a smaller
On
level.
a smaller level, correct.
Yes.
That's, thank you. Any other questions? Johnson?
Thank you, Chairman. If you would give me a little bit of a leash here.
Very short.
I'm looking for an update on the installation of the pump on the basin just north of this.
108, or 108, 110.
It's under construction right now, so it'd be South Broadway just north of Mason Street. We're under construction with the new lift station, anticipated completion March, April.
We took a little bit of a delay when we had the storms come in December that had the northeast winds that caused the evacuations up on the bay that actually raised the river levels high enough that it flooded out the construction site, so the contractor had to get the water out of there so we could start construction again.
Is that what, all the equipment that's mobilized over there right now
That's all mobilized for construction of the station.
for that? Okay. All right, yeah, just because I know that they were underwater again last week, and so that basin though is, I mean, so the flooding that's going on in this area, that pump's not going to
No.
service this at all, right?
Nope.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions with a short leash? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Number 8, consideration of possible action on request Department of Public Works to award construction contracts at a staff level and report the award at the next regular meeting of Improving Services Committee for Basin 106 lift station, Howard Street reconstruction in East Mason, siphon elimination projects due to January and February meeting schedules. Grenier?
Again, we've got 2 construction projects that have some timeliness to them. We'd like to get them bid out and awarded. And with the schedules for when we'd be opening bids, there could be as much as 3 weeks before we get them back to the committee. So again, you know, we're trying to be sensitive to your, what you guys have talked to us about in the past. We, as a department, don't have any concerns with our ability to award these contracts. The alternative would be to have special committee meetings with simply a 1-item agenda and special council meetings similarly with 1 item to award the contracts. We're open to that as well. But if you guys, if you feel comfortable, you know, with having us award the contracts, we're happy to do that.
Any input? Johnson?
Just a question, is this the pump station now that, or the lift, that station that's being put in near Pearl Street?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the one that's north then of
North of
Basin 108, right?
correct.
Okay.
And then the East Mason siphon, that's East Mason at East River, essentially. There is a siphon that goes under the East River for sanitary sewerage. And staff has come up with a project to reroute some of that sanitary sewer into in a different configuration to eliminate the siphon. Siphons have their usefulness, and we use them very sparingly when we have to, but as the name implies, what you have is a U-shaped trap almost under the river. If we can eliminate that and have it go in a linear fashion rather than do a siphon, that's always a good thing, and that siphon is
The siphon was built by Green Bay Metropolitan Sewage District in 1933.
So-
It's 2 concrete pipes.
It's just a different way to get it.
Useful life is, we're afraid.
If we had a failure, it could be bad, so we gotta do something.
Tell me bad. Like what?
You could have sanitary sewer discharge from the southeast portion of the city into the East River.
Got it, okay. Go ahead, Matt.
That's
So-
So what are you recommending then?
Well, what we're doing is, that project is to eliminate the siphon and reroute how the sewage gets down to the sewage treatment plant.
Okay, how are we gonna do that?
We're gonna construct 200 feet of pipe on the upstream side and tap into the Green Bay Met line further to the south. Instead of on the west side of the river, we'll tap in
We'll run parallel with the East River and tap into a different manhole,
Okay, whereabouts?
just south of it.
about 200 feet.
About 200 feet south of where,
East Mason.
Of East Mason
Yeah.
south.
Right. So
we'll
right
stay
now,
on the east side of the
so-
river over by John.
right now, the siphon parallels the bridge on the south side of the bridge at East Mason and the East River. What we're gonna do is take that pipe, turn it about 90 degrees and go south, and Green Bay Metropolitan Sewage District has a manhole about 200 feet.
That'll be
away.
underground, you're gonna be
That'll
moving
be-
that,
Yep,
so you're
We'll
gonna
we'll
like,
construct a new pipe.
oh, okay, you're not be pushing
No.
No.
earth, new pipe.
No,
So,
just a new
kinda
pipe.
run-
Like over by East High?
No,
In
no.
that area?
south of there, where that trail is going south from Mason
Right.
Street,
Right,
where the gazebo is.
okay, gazebo,
The gazebo on East Mason at John, where the flooding was last year.
Hartung.
Hartung,
Over in there,
sorry.
yep.
Yep.
Okay,
No,
kind of between the gazebo and the river,
got it,
about 200 feet south.
down the river.
Keep going right
Okay,
through the
down
parkway.
the parkway,
Yep.
oh, okay, down there behind East River Park and all that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Again, only
got it.
about 200 feet south of East
Right.
Mason, so
Interesting,
it's a
Okay.
easy fix. It's just
Yeah.
timely because we wanna get in there before the spring thaw,
right.
so we don't get a wet trench.
One of my other questions.
That's
So
the timeliness of asking for a approval.
Okay, what are we gonna do with that U-shaped pipe then?
Abandoned in place.
Okay, and
We'll
then
just
just
fill it and grow it up.
fill it, okay, that's, okay. Sounds good. All right, any questions? You're looking for approval that, without,
Well,
You
it's
want-
e-
you want
e-
authority,
either to have,
correct?
either to have us award the contract, or do you guys wanna have special meetings? We just need to know so we can plan.
any input? Or do you wanna hear it from me?
Well, we always complain that we don't move fast enough on these flooding things, so in this situation, I'd say take care of it.
Well, that's what I say too.
I would agree, but again, it's that situation where we need more council meetings. I think you
Yeah.
worked on this for
Yeah,
a
if we
long
could meet
time. It's
every
just
2 weeks instead of once a month.
Things like this need oversight, but we can't delay it either, so
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay.
Move to allow Public Works to approve.
Well, the way that it's written is to give us the authorization, so it would be a motion.
Okay, motion, I'll make that motion.
Motion by Burnett, second by. Second?
Second.
Johnson, under discussion, hear none. All in favor?
Aye.
Nays was carried. 8? No, 9.
Nine.
Consideration of possible action on review and approval of 2020 Department of Public Works Service Rates. Grenier.
This one and the next one hopefully wind up being a lot less painful than they are most years. Every year, we come to you with our proposed service rates for the year for bulk collections, collections of appliances, trash and recycling carts, improper cart storage, weed cutting, early setouts, asphalt pavement repair, and snow and ice control. We did have some price adjustments in 2019 to bring things current with wage and equipment costs. Staff did go back. Nancy's done a fantastic job of keeping tabs on this stuff. And it looks like for 2020, we're able to hold everything exactly the same as it was in 2019. So staff is recommending to hold the rates as proposed in the memo.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion to approve the rates by Burnett, second by Worry. Under discussion, Steve, where does the money go?
It comes into the general fund.
Okay.
This is one of our revenue funds.
Can't we raise the rates?
We could, but with rates like this, there's a requirement to have it tied to actual costs, and that's what we're doing.
We approved, increased them last year.
Yes.
Right, so.
All right. Okay, that's all I got. All in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Let's get back to the agenda here. 11, consideration of possible. 10. Consideration of possible action and review and approval of 2020 special assessment factors and rates. Director Kinnear.
Again, with special assessment rates, last year we had some pretty significant adjustments. But for this year, again, our staff, as well as water utility staff, has gone back, taken a look at recent construction activities, and with the exception of the stormwater management fee in lieu of, we're holding rates for 2020 consistent with what we had in 2019. The stormwater management fee in lieu of, again, that's if we have a regional pond and somebody's able to buy into that pond instead of building their own. We're looking at going from $2,800 per ERU up to $3,100 per ERU, and that's reflective of the cost of building ponds these days. Matt actually spent quite a bit of time looking at this over the past 2 weeks, so we feel pretty comfortable with that number. The only other thing that's not in here is if you look on the third page, the interest rate for unpaid special assessments, we do not have that. What we can approve is the city's borrowing rate plus 2%, which is our policy. We just haven't gotten that borrowing rate back from bond council yet. But if you were to prove it consistent with the policy, then whatever the bond rate comes back, it would automatically trigger.
Any questions?
Steve,
Johnson?
the stormwater thing for ERUs, that doesn't have anything to do with the cost of maintaining trees, does it?
Nope, this is
All right.
100% for new construction if somebody were to buy into a pond as opposed to building it
Okay.
themselves.
Yeah.
This is actually more akin to the discussion we had last month and the one that got held because bunkers aren't here about us building a pond and
Right.
them discharging. to it.
That's what I
where
thought, I
that
just
comes
wanted to
in.
verify.
Nope,
Thank
that's
you.
where that comes into.
I move to approve with the understanding that the interest rate would be in alignment with city policy once that rate is determined.
Yep,
Motion by Johnson, second by Burnett, under discussion. Here none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. 11, consideration of possible action on request by Chaos Energy Services to renewal an annual hold harmless agreement for access to the city of Green Bay sewer system to conduct inspection of the sewer mains and laterals. Director Kinnear.
this is a contract that KS Energies has had with us for many years now. They go in and televise the laterals ahead of the work they're doing for Wisconsin Public Service. It benefits us so that there's not cross bores through our sewer system. Then they actually, if they notice anything that we need to be aware of while they're in there, they actually take the time to come back and notify us. It's helped us identify some issues with sanitary sewer that we would have not gotten to in the same amount of time. So it's been a mutually beneficial relationship. They've been a good contractor to work with, and we do recommend extending this, to renew this annual contract.
Any questions? Entertain a motion. Motion to approve
Second.
by Burnett, second by who?
Second, Johnson.
Johnson, under discussion. Hear none. All in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. 12, consideration possible action on applications for sidewalk builder license by the following. Got an issue with any of them?
All have held licenses in the past, we recommend approval.
Okay. Motion to approve A through H.
Second.
Approved by Burnett, second by Johnson, under discussion. Hear none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. 13, consideration of possible action on applications for tree and brush trimmer license by the following. Got an issue with any of them, Steve?
All have held licenses, recommend approval.
Move to approve.
Motion by Burnett, A through F. Second by Johnson, under discussion. Hear none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. 14. Consideration of possible action on applications for underground sprinkler system license by the following. You got any issues with any of these?
Nope, same thing, all have held license, recommend approval.
Motion to approve A through C by Burnett, second by Johnson. Here, under discussion. Here none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Informational. Director Kinnear?
Just a real brief report that with the weather being what it has, screwy winter we've had, we're actually back down to square one and things are looking pretty decent for right now. Staff is keeping an eye on the weather, and we are keeping an eye on, situations on the bay. And just to let you folks know that Utilities Division and Engineering are working cooperatively. We are taking a look at some ideas for work on the dike, the flood control dike. There's been some pretty significant damage with the December storm that wasn't there in May. So we just had a conference call this morning with Department of Natural Resources and FEMA to see what we can do, and we've got some ideas there. So be expecting to see something possibly within the next couple of months relative to the dike.
Okay. Worry.
Question not on the dike, but at our next meeting, are we getting the proposed roads for next year and the wheel tax usage?
We will, hopefully at the next meeting, we'll be able to have the wheel tax usage. What we won't have, what we may or may not have, the reason I've been holding off on it, I can give you the uses, that's easy. What I can't give you is the complete revenues, because we haven't got the revenues back from the state for December yet. And I was hoping to have all of that as one consistent package.
Doing more roads?
We're trying to bump up above what we did last year. Unfortunately, it's not quite as high as we were hoping to get overall, but it's going to be a build into it thing. Throughout the course, one of the things that Jim and I have been taking a look at for 2020 is to, consistent with what you guys have talked about, using some of the wheel tax money to hire consultants to get additional work done. So
Music
that's,
to my ears.
the design work will get done in 2020. Hopefully, we'll see the payoff with additional road work being done, continue to ramp that program
Yep.
up in 21.
Perfect, thank you.
Awesome. Move to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Burnett, second by
Second.
Johnson. Under discussion, hear none, all in favor, motion carried, we're adjourned. Parks.
Steve,
Yes, sir.
when I was walking around